Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm back again and we're going back to a more recent set today for a card I haven't covered. We're going back to the 40k cards that hit MTGO a while back. And we're going to look at Magus Lucea Kane today. 1 green, blue and red for a 1/1 human Tyranid wizard. Yeah, probably should be sort of like warlock, but you know, what can I complain? Spiritual leader. At the beginning of combat on your turn, chuck a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And then you've got Psychic Stimulus. Tap, add to colourless. When you next cast a spell with X in its mana cost or activate an ability with X in its mana cost, you can copy it and choose new targets. 40k is my hobby. I will say I've been playing 40k longer. I've been playing Magic, and the Genestealer Cult, which is where the Magus comes from, is one of the armies I collect in 40k. And to be honest, I was quite surprised when we got the 40k decks hit MTGO. But I'm really glad they made it to MTGO at the end of the day, because I really enjoy playing some of the cards, and this is one of the ones that I had thought about, and then it was requested by one of the followers. So here we go. Here's my take on Magus for today. So starting at the beginning, yeah, you can see where this deck's going, can't you? Just by looking at the first few creatures in the deck. We are looking at X spells. We're looking at creatures with X in their casting cost, and there's a few Tyranids floated in as well. For those of you who don't know the 40k background, basically a Genestealer gets abandoned on a planet. It infects a few humans by doing like the whole alien thing from the films. They then become a Genestealer cult. That Genestealer becomes the patriarch. Eventually offspring appear that are other Genestealers all the way through, and then eventually they send out a psychic beacon that attracts the rest of the Tyranid fleet, and they usually end up having a big fight because the cult doesn't want to be absorbed, but the Tyridian fleet wants to absorb everything. So completely useless 40k background if you don't like 40k, but I figured it's worth explaining for 30 seconds. But let's look at the deck. So Birds of Paradise, we need the extra mana, so we're in. Goldvein Hydra is the first one of the X creature spells that comes in. We get this copied up and go through it, and when it dies we get the treasure tokens. The first one of the Tyranids is the Hormigaunt Horde. Yes, we'd like to make X5 or more to make it ravenous. And then whenever a land enters the battlefield under our control, we can pay, well, Harrow cost basically 2 in a green, and return this from our graveyard to our hand. So yeah, okay, that makes sense. Hungering Hydra, they actually all the Hydras look a bit like some of the Tyranids, so that's why I've gone with them, by the way, just so we're clear. Ends the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters, can't be blocked by more than one creature. When it's dealt damage, put that many +1/+1s on it. Nyxborn Hydra, just do the whole bestow thing if we need to. Protean Hydra comes into play, remove the counters from it, and then put a +1/+1 counter is removed from it. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on at the beginning of the end step. We all know the score of the Hydras, I'm not going to read them all out. Shivan Devastator, haste, X +1/+1 counters. Termagant Swarm, yeah, this is a very typical 40k type thing. Big swarm of things, and when it dies you get even more things, so it's all good fun. Apocalypse Hydra, just a way of dealing some damage. Biophagus comes in from the 40k set as well, just so we can spend extra mana ramp and put an extra +1/+1 counter on a creature. Genesis Hydra to hit things off the top of our library, and then the rest into our shuffle the rest into our library, which is fine. Hooded Hydra for the whole X +1/+1 counters, and when it dies we get all the snake creature tokens. Hydroid Crassus gives us life, cards, and a big flying threat once we get up the X to a reasonable level. Icenian Carotid, so we can do this, get double mana hopefully, because we'll be controlling creatures with power of 4 or more. Lotus Cobra for the extra ramp off the landfall. Overgrown Zealot comes in from Duskmourn. It's a 0/4 for 1 and a green, that taps for 1 mana, and I think it's actually quite a good blocker in the early game. Yes, it hasn't got hexproof, I'm aware of that, but it's not the worst thing in the world to have in play, I think, when we're trying to get ramp on the go. Paradise Druid is hexproof and protected, and ramps. Poison Dart Frog gives you reach, gives you tap to add 1 mana of any colour, and if you've got a couple of spare mana around and you need a sneaky killer, you can give it Death Touch and it will deal with most things that come into play. Primordial Hydra just comes in with a whole load of X +1/+1 counters on it, which gets doubled, and as long as we've got 10 or more it gets trample. Steelbane Hydra, you get to remove them to blow up artifacts or enchantment from the counters. Caryatid here just because it's defender with hexproof. Another one of the Tyranids comes in. Terravagon is also in, and when it deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 green Tyranid creature tokens. Hopefully you'll get this in big with the trample ability. The Goose Mother, another creature with X in its thing, just gives us some food tokens, so we can sacrifice food to draw a card with it. 3 Treat Root Weaver is also in for some more ramp, to make sure we go there even farther from Bloomburrow. Along with Twitching Doll, comes in from Dusksworn as well. Don't forget the upside of this is once it's got a few counts on it, you can sack it off to get the spiders with reach, which does kind of give you a few more blockers. Vastwood Hydra, when it dies, distribute all its +1/+1 counters wherever you want. Voracious Hydra gets to fight or double the number of +1/+1 counters, depending on what you want to do when it enters play. Kami of the Whispered Hopes will put extra +1/+1 counters on your creatures and then tap for mana. Zavala should mean you will always draw in a card because your creatures should have the biggest power on the board unless something unusual happens. And then you can tap it to add X mana in any combination of colours where X is the greatest power among creatures you control, which does help with this deck, believe it or not. Stump Squall Hydra enters the battlefield, distribute X +1/+1 counters among it and any number of commanders. So you get to meet Magnus a little bit bigger when this hits. Hugs Grizzly Guardian comes in. Quite like Hugs. Hugs is quite fun from Bloomburrow. Enters exile the top X cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. You can play an additional land each turn. This is a really nice card, so it's in for this one. Likewise, some old school. Roshin, Roaring Prophet, makes an appearance. Enters the battlefield with mill 6 card. Put a card with X in its mana cost from among them into your hand. And then reveal any number of cards with X in their mana cost in your hand. Add 2 colours for each card revealed this way, and then spend that mana to cast them. Sounds good to me. Toxicrene comes in as well from the Tyranid set, but this is here because it gives all the lands tap, add 1 mana of any colour and lose all other abilities, which, yeah, does kind of make things a little bit tricky when you're playing against your opponents. But at the end of the day, it does shut down some of the more annoying lands they could be playing against you. Finally, Cavern Hall Dragon costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest number of artifacts. I just like this one because it gives all the treasure tokens. Not an X spell as such. Well, it isn't, but yeah, bit of fun. Anyway, more X spells in the spells section. You're not surprised, are you? Animist's Awakening to go and get the lands. Banefire for removal and killage. Green Sun's Twilight, to go and find a creature card. And X is 5 or more. Instead of put the chosen cards onto the battlefield or into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library, so you get a creature and land with a bit of luck. Hopefully X will be sort of like 6-7, and we'll get those creatures into play where we can. Hell to Pay, just another X spell that deals damage and then to a target creature, and then we get a whole load of tapped treasure tokens if we do the excess, which we will do. Awaken the Woods gives us a whole load of forest dryads. Cyclonic Rift controls the board. Doppelgang, yeah. For each of X target permanents, create X tokens that are copies of that permanent. Not just R1s. Any target permanents get copies. Yes, it's expensive. I mean, it costs you 5 mana to get 1 token. But, you know, you're playing a deck that revolves around having X spells on the go, so hopefully it works out. Finale of Devastation, just as your win card to go in and get all the something big and then pump everything up and give them haste. Nature's Law for some ramp. Open the Way for a little bit more ramp. Again, haven't seen it recently, but interestingly, yesterday on the stream when I was streaming, this got played a couple of times and I was really impressed by it. So get X to 3, so 5 mana, you go and get some lands and you're away. Reap the Past, just return X cards at random from your graveyard to your hand, then exile Reap the Past. Nice way of getting everything back from your graveyard that you may need. Savage Twister for a little bit more board control. 3 visits for ramp. Jessica's Will, because we're playing red and why wouldn't I have it in here. Prismari Command for a little bit, 2 damage, draw 2, discard 2, or get a treasure, or destroy an artifact. Chain Reaction, Blasphemous Act for complete board control. And Mass Manipulation. Quadruple blue is tricky, not going to argue that. But once you get there and you start filling up your XXs, yeah, getting the biggest threats off the board onto your side is really, really fun. A little bit of ramp mainly in the artifact slot. Nothing really fancy. Mox Tantalite, Soul Talisman, Elixir of Immortality, slough everything back in when it goes pear-shaped. Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, the medallions of all three, Fellwar Stone, and Ancient Cornucopia. A little bit obsessed with this card at the moment, but it works really well in this deck as well. The only enchantment in the whole deck is Unbanned Flourishing, because whenever you cast a permanent spell with a mana value that contains X, double the value of X. And then whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell or activate an ability, if that spell's mana cost or ability is X, you get to copy it. Yeah, it's the only enchantment you need in this deck, because you might as well turn everything into a complete nightmare for your opponents. Beyond that, the lands, red, green and blue lands all the way through, nothing particularly fancy in here. Notice, for once, I'm not playing the Tower, and I'm not playing the Temple of the False God. So, Reliquary Tower is not here. Temple of the False God's here. So, having given it a day off for a change. And that's it. That is my take on Magus Lucea Kane. Yeah, I look forward to playing this one. I like a good Hydra deck, basically, which is what this is in an X-Spell deck. So it should be a lot of fun to play. If you want to see me play it, there won't be this coming out on Thursday. There's no stream tonight, I'm away at the moment. There should be a stream on Sunday with a bit of luck, so you should be able to see me play it then, if you want to come and watch out. But failing that, Twitch is down below. You can come and see me over there. Watch me in the games down below. Hopefully you hit the subscribe button as well if you're here on YouTube to help me out and get my numbers up. 537 subscribers here on YouTube as I record this, so if you can help out and hit that button, I'd really appreciate it. But for now, anything else you want to see me cover while I wait for Foundation's Legends to be announced, let me know in the comments down below. We'll try and get them covered over the next few weeks. But for now, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.